What if the most important conversation you'll ever have with your baby begins years before they can say their first word? Not with language, not with lessons, but with thousands of tiny moments that seem too ordinary to matter. That question completely changed the way I see early childhood. The more I explored developmental psychology and infant neuroscience, the more I realized that we've been celebrating the wrong moments. We wait for the first word, the first step, the first birthday, believing those milestones are where development happens. But what if those milestones are simply the visible result of millions of invisible moments that came before them? Welcome to If Babies Could Talk. If you're fascinated by what science is revealing about the incredible minds of babies, I'd love for you to subscribe. Your support helps this channel continue creating thoughtful videos that uncover the hidden meaning behind everyday parenting moments. Here's what I can't stop thinking about. A baby's brain doesn't wait for special occasions to grow. It doesn't know the difference between an ordinary Tuesday morning and a milestone you'll remember forever. Every smile you share, every gentle touch, every bedtime story, every time your baby looks into your eyes searching for comfort or connection, their brain is quietly deciding what kind of world this is and what kind of person they can become within it. And once I understood that, I realized the smallest moments may actually be the ones that matter most. If ordinary moments really are shaping the brain, then the next question becomes almost impossible to ignore. What is it about those moments that makes them so powerful? The answer surprised me, because it challenged something I had quietly believed for years. I used to think that the more stimulation a baby received, the more their brain would develop. More educational toys, more activities, more opportunities to learn. It sounded reasonable. After all, adults often improve by doing more. But babies don't seem to grow that way. The developing brain isn't desperately searching for more information. It's searching for meaningful interaction. That distinction may sound subtle, but I think it changes the entire conversation about parenting. Imagine trying to teach someone to love music by handing them a room full of instruments but never sitting beside them to play. The instruments matter, but the relationship is what gives them meaning. I can't help wondering if we've treated early childhood in much the same way. We've spent years asking which product is smartest. Meanwhile, a baby's brain has been asking an entirely different question. Who is sharing this moment with me? A parent's face. The rhythm of a familiar voice. The gentle pause before responding to a baby's coo. These experiences don't simply entertain a child. They teach the brain that communication is rewarding, that exploration is safe, and that the world responds when they reach out. The more I reflect on this, the less I believe babies are trying to be stimulated. I think they're trying to connect. Connection is what transforms sound into language. It transforms eye contact into trust. It transforms playful repetition into understanding. Without connection, experiences are just events. With connection, those same experiences become part of the brain's wiring. And perhaps that's why the simplest moments often become the most meaningful. Not because they're impressive, but because they're shared. And that made me realize something I had never seriously considered before. Maybe children aren't playing to pass the time. They're playing to build the brain they'll need for the rest of their lives. That idea completely changed the way I watch everyday moments. A baby staring into a mirror is no longer just looking at a reflection. I can't help wondering if they're beginning one of the earliest conversations they'll ever have with themselves. Every smile they recognize, every movement they imitate, every tiny discovery helps the brain connect the idea of me with the world around them. The same thought comes to mind whenever I hear adults talking to babies who can't answer back. From the outside, it can seem almost one-sided. But inside that developing brain, every word is becoming a pattern, every sentence a rhythm, and every warm voice another clue about how human connection sounds and feels. Then there are the games we almost take for granted. Peekaboo, reading the same picture book for the 10th time, dancing to the same song over and over, watching a toddler pour water from one cup into another until the floor is soaked. Years ago, I probably would have called these simple ways to keep a child entertained. Now I see something entirely different. Each moment is exercising a different part of the brain. Peekaboo quietly strengthens memory and prediction. Books introduce the rhythm and structure of language long before children can read. Sensory play teaches the brain to compare, experiment, and ask, what happens if I try this? Movement connects vision, balance, touch, and coordination into one beautifully integrated system. Perhaps that's why children repeat the same activities hundreds of times without getting bored. Adults often chase novelty. The developing brain chases mastery. Every repetition makes a neural pathway a little stronger, a little faster, a little more efficient. The more I observe young children, the less I believe they're trying to achieve something impressive. I think they're following an instinct far older than any classroom, an instinct that quietly says, keep exploring, keep experimenting, keep connecting. And maybe that's the hidden genius of childhood. What looks like ordinary play to us is actually the brain rehearsing for language, relationships, problem-solving, emotional understanding, and countless experiences that haven't happened yet. Once I began seeing play through that lens, it stopped looking like a break from learning. It became the most natural expression of learning itself. And the more I reflected on all of this, the more one question stayed with me. What makes a child willing to explore in the first place? At first, I thought curiosity was simply a personality trait. Some children were naturally adventurous, while others were more cautious. But the deeper I looked into developmental psychology, the more I realized that curiosity doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in the presence of safety. Imagine trying to build a house. Most people admire the roof, the windows, or the beautifully decorated rooms. Almost no one stops to admire the foundation. Yet without it, everything above eventually becomes unstable. I think a child's emotional world works much the same way. Language, memory, creativity, and problem-solving are like the rooms we can see. Emotional security is the foundation holding them together. That completely changed the way I interpret everyday parenting moments. When a frightened toddler runs back for a hug before exploring again, I no longer see hesitation. I see a brain checking that its foundation is still there. When a baby calms down after hearing a familiar voice, I don't just see comfort. I see a nervous system learning that the world can return to safety after uncertainty. Perhaps that's why love and learning are never really separate in early childhood. Connection isn't a reward after learning happens. It's the condition that allows learning to happen at all. The more emotionally secure a child feels, the more confidently they seem to investigate unfamiliar people, places, sounds, and ideas. It's almost as if every reassuring interaction quietly tells the brain, you can keep going. You're safe here. What I find most comforting is that this doesn't require perfect parenting. Children don't need someone who never loses patience or never makes mistakes. What seems to matter far more is having someone who comes back, someone who reconnects, someone who helps repair moments of stress instead of pretending they never happened. That may be one of the most hopeful discoveries I've encountered. The brain isn't looking for perfection. It's looking for consistency. And perhaps that's why the strongest gift we give our children isn't flawless parenting. It's becoming the safe place they carry with them, long after they've learned to walk away on their own. And perhaps that naturally brings us to the question I've been asking myself throughout this entire journey. If all of this is true, what does it actually mean for the way we think about parenting? The answer wasn't another technique. It wasn't another checklist. It was a change in perspective. I used to believe that raising a child meant constantly wondering whether I was doing enough activities, enough learning, enough stimulation, enough preparation for the future. But the more I understand how the developing brain works, the less I measure parenting by how much I can provide. Instead, I find myself paying closer attention to how my child experiences the moments we already share. Maybe the question isn't, what else should I teach today? Maybe it's, what kind of world is my child learning to expect from me? A world where curiosity is welcomed. where mistakes aren't frightening, where emotions don't have to be hidden, where questions are met with patience instead of pressure. When I think about it that way, success begins to look surprisingly different. It's not about raising the earliest reader in the classroom or the toddler who reaches every milestone before everyone else. Those achievements can certainly be wonderful, but I don't believe they're the whole story. The deeper success may be raising a child who isn't afraid to wonder, who feels safe enough to ask questions, who believes that learning is exciting rather than stressful, who carries confidence into new experiences, because, long before they understood the world, they first learned they could trust the people guiding them through it. Perhaps that's the quiet lesson neuroscience has been trying to teach us all along. The brain isn't built through extraordinary moments, carefully arranged once in a while. It's shaped by ordinary moments repeated with love, attention, and consistency. A conversation during breakfast, a smile after a small accomplishment, a patient response to endless curiosity, a comforting hug after disappointment. None of these moments seem dramatic while they're happening. Yet together, they become the emotional and neurological foundation upon which everything else is built. And I think that's one of the most hopeful discoveries I've encountered. You don't have to become a perfect parent to help build a healthy brain. You simply have to keep showing up, again and again. Because in the eyes of a developing child, your steady presence may become the lesson that makes every other lesson possible. And perhaps that's the thought I hope stays with both of us long after this video ends. I've come to believe that childhood isn't shaped by a handful of unforgettable milestones. It's shaped by thousands of ordinary moments that quietly accumulate, one after another, until they become the foundation of a human life. That perspective has changed the way I see parenting. I no longer ask whether every day is productive enough. Instead, I wonder what my child is learning about the world simply by sharing it with me. Is it a place that feels safe? A place worth exploring? A place where mistakes don't end connection? The more I learn about the developing brain, the more hopeful I become. Because it reminds me that children don't need us to create a perfect childhood. They need us to be present inside the one they're already living. A smile that says, "I'm here." A voice that brings comfort. A moment of curiosity shared together. Those things may seem too small to matter, yet they may become the invisible threads that shape confidence, resilience, compassion, and a lifelong love of learning. If this journey has helped you see your baby's everyday world through a different lens, I'd love for you to stay with us by subscribing and joining future conversations. Until next time, remember this: the smallest moments rarely feel extraordinary while they're happening, but they just might become the moments that matter most.